Cool. All right. Welcome everyone to the second Denver. We technically skipped the first one, but essentially our first Gophers meetup for Denver, Boulder, and the greater Denver area. And welcome. And if you'll feel like it, if you'll feel comfortable, feel free to introduce yourselves. My name is Warren. I've been doing Go development for a few years now. To be honest, I can't really keep track. It's either between Go and YAML that I work in. So mostly YAML, to be honest. And I currently, I'm in between jobs right now. I used to work at VMware, which got acquired by Pivotal. Which acquired Pivotal rather. And I'm currently going to move to a startup in Boulder, Colorado. That's it's called Strata, which is like a multi-identity cloud company. So it's in the identity space. Does anybody else wanna introduce themselves and say hi? Kristen, I see your hand, so feel free to unmute and.
Hi, Warren. Hi, everybody. My name's Kristen Kosniak, and I joined today because I'd love to make some connections with all of you. I'm a recruiter, and I work for Move Financial, and we're a startup here in Denver. We're actually everywhere. There's no concrete brick and mortar office since we were pretty much born out of the pandemic. So we've got people everywhere from Connecticut to California, but anyway, a lot of us are here in Denver area, and we are currently looking to hire 4 senior software Go engineers. So if any of you are looking, Warren, it sounds like maybe you're already set with your new role, but anyway, I'd be happy to have a conversation with anybody. And thanks for having me.
Cool. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you.
I'm sure if anybody is interested, they'll definitely reach out. Kristen, I don't know if you have any links, feel free to send them my way.
Okay.
Or post them in Zoom,
okay.
in the Zoom chat, and I can try and like copy paste that stuff at the end and
awesome.
Post it in like Slack channels and stuff.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll do that right now.
Cool. Does anybody here, I see Chris, Terry, Jason, and Edward. Does anybody here have any, there's no agenda for today. Well, there is one possible agenda, which I have sort of minimally prepared for. But if anybody had any questions, in the past, it's the format of these meetups were usually somebody will present on a specific topic, and if we didn't have any specific topic, then somebody will just have a question to ask, and then it was just sort of ad hoc. People would just sort of try and help out. But if you'll have any questions or anything like that, feel free to say, "Hey, Kevin, Happy New Year." I don't think I've seen you since.
Yeah, I got busy and I'm like, oh man, I missed a Thursday. Damn. For whenever it was, but last month, I guess. But Happy New Year.
Yeah, so last month we actually skipped our for those here, we skipped our regular Denver Gophers meetup because there was another sort of presentations of sorts that was presented by the Go Bridge community. And so it was like the day before. It was on the Wednesday before the meetup. So I was like, we'll just do that. Anyways, cool. So the only topic I had, to be honest, was, and it might be kind of quick, but the only topic I had was Brendon Kay on the Denver Gophers channel posted about that Go 1.16 just got released, and there was some interesting things. So I was gonna share my screen and go through some of the release notes. I was kind of playing around with some of that embed package things that he was talking about, and sort of ran into some other very interesting things that are part of the release note. So if nobody has any questions or anything like that, or any discussion points, I'm happy to sort of fumble my way through this quick review of the Go 1.16 release notes. I'm not hearing any objections. Going once.
You have my endorsement personally.
All right, cool. Let's see. All right, let me do this. I'm going to share my screen. And please let me know. Ooh, Slacks, minimize. It's so since I left VMware, I had to like return all my equipment, including my really nice 36-inch curved monitor. So I'm back to my personal laptop, and it's like very, very interesting because I'm like, I only have so much real estate. Yeah, so yay, on 16 February, Go 1.16 was released, and there are a few, just few releases, and then I'll just go through a few of these release notes. So they added a new embed package, which is what Brendon was sort of talking about, and I'll sort of go through some of that. This embed directive essentially allows us to, sort of load static files and directories even into your Go program. Before I would, I've been on projects where I don't know if there are any other solutions, but I've used like the Go bin data, where we pointed it in and like it just generated and then converted to bytes. And then we had these sort of generated files with all of these bytes embedded in it. And it seems like they've sort of just added this directive where you can do that. And then Go 1.16 also requires Go modules by default. I sort of ran into that where I was like, I thought it was like some weird system problem with me because I haven't like touched this laptop in like months. In fact, the entire year. I haven't done any development on this. So I thought it was like a misconfiguration, and then I continued reading the release notes, and I was like, oh, okay. And there are a couple of other things. So let's actually go to the release notes page. Hopefully you can all see that. And I'm sort of going to go through a few of these, which were kind of interesting. All right. So let's just go straight to the code. And oh, this is me playing around. So what I want to do is I'm going to say, open up a new tab. And I'm going to say make dir play, playground 2. And hopefully y'all can see this. Did you all need me to up the, I can't see chat messages, damn it. Let's see chat here.
I can watch those and just tell you if anything comes up.
Okay, perfect, thanks, Kevin. So I'll just up it one more, and then hopefully that's good enough for y'all. All right, so I had like Go 1.13 on this machine. So I promptly went in and installed Go 1.16. And I was like, okay, cool, let's play with this embed stuff. And I went in, I was like, okay, cool. Main.go, and I was just like, okay, cool. And then suddenly I saw all these errors, and I was like, okay, clearly my Vimgo is like out of date. So I thought it was like my fault. And then I just did that, and I was like, okay, I'll just run main.go. Did I not save that? Of course not. Right. I'll write this file. Okay. And then I was like, oh, I'll just go run main.go. No. And it just does that. That's fine, right? And then I was like, okay, let's do this embed stuff. So let's go back here and let's go to this embedded file. So they have this embed directive, which basically loads the file and puts it sort of in a variable. So I was like, okay, that seems pretty straightforward enough. So I went in here and I was like, okay, I'm gonna add a file. I don't know, foo.txt, And I'm going to say this is foo file. All right. And then I just would make a variable called foos. And it's going to be a string. And then I'll just do this go embed. Oh, and I have to give it the file name. So foo.txt. And yeah, and then I guess here I'll just print foo. And I'm going to open the terminal on the right-hand side. And I'm going to minimize the floating windows here so I can see my screen. And let's just run it and say go run main.go. And then it's returns an error. It's like, yo, I got this go embed directive. And this is go 1.16, obviously saying, you got to import this thing. And I was like, huh. And then I was like, oh yeah, they have an embed package. So after a little bit of Googling, go back in and I was like, all right, I'm just going to this. What's happening? Oh, don't do that. Shift O underscore embed. I'm just importing this because I'm not really actually using anything from the package. And then I go here and I was like, oh wow, look at that, it actually worked. Pretty cool. This is foo file, and that was like from the file. Another thing I noticed is if I move this stuff inside inside a function, right, and then just do it, it's gonna throw you an error. So that was another one of the things about this go embed is that you can only use it for on variables that are like package level, not really within the scope of a function. And I think this was here. I read that somewhere here.
That is documented, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the reason that they do that is if you've ever played with, there's like an LD flag, like a linker flag that's $X, where you can like inject version strings into or get hashes or something like that into your binary. I would guess it's using the same mechanism, and that can only operate at things that are kind of like in global memory, so to speak.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that one. Awesome.
And that's probably also why you can't make it a const. There's a fun thing you can do on top of this. Actually, it's not categorically anything different, but there's a type of program that's known as a quine, Quine, which is a.
I saw that somewhere.
Oh, do they actually mention that in here somewhere?
I did run into that. Where did I see that? Directive. Is it here? Oh, you know what? No.
Now I'm thinking about it. I wouldn't be surprised if it showed up in like Twitter or something. But
it was on a blog post that was linked actually. Yeah. They're like here, and then it was right here. Oh yeah, how to use go embed. And then I saw that quine thing and I was like, okay, I'll yeah.
And it's rather hard to do, but now with this, it becomes exceptionally easy. You just get to do it for free if you really want to.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah.
So for the listeners, it's any program that takes no input and produces its own source code as output.
Yeah. I saw that and I was just like, oh, okay, that's neat. I didn't know why there was a specific name for it.
It's just a fun curiosity thing. I don't think it has any practical purpose.
Oh, okay. Cool. Awesome. So that makes sense. I'm glad you brought it up because I read.
Yeah, the only reason I stumbled across it is when you did the okay, I'll make a foo.txt. I'm like, I don't want to make another file. What can I'll just embed this same file right here.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So another cool thing with this thing is like it actually can take a sort of wildcard. I don't know what I don't want to say regex, but like it can do like things like this, where I can say foo star.txt.
Yeah, like a glob.
Yeah, like a glob. That's right. And then that it'll like sort of be able to parse those things too. I don't know if I did an example of that. Yeah, b.stuff. Okay. So it's getting into the other things where, so if I just go ahead and I'm gonna say mod add, and I'm just gonna say bar.stuff. And I'm just gonna call this is bar stuffing. This is like now, if you do that, and then if you just say, actually, b star stuff, then you run it, and it'll just print that one out. So this is just the one file, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing, let's see, clearly, just sort of going through what I had done a few hours ago. Yeah, so it was this sort of going through this directory of things. So I was like, okay, I'll make a directory. What if I add ver? And then inside here, I can sort of add another file like baz.stuff. And I could probably do move you to there as well. Oh no, I'm ordered it. Move to cool. So now I can do things like here, this would be foo.txt, and then I can do things like dir/star.stuff. I can have multiple embed directives, but in this case, obviously, how do you put like multiple like things into a string? So they actually, within this embed, and now I'll actually start using this package, they have this embed fs. And I looked into that and I was like, what is this embed? What is happening? Attempt to decode. Nope. Here, and let me just move this aside a little bit. And it's essentially a struct in there. And I was like, I've not really seen this, because I was looking at this and I was like, fs implements fs.fs. I was like, what is fs? And then I saw this IOFS and I was like, that seems new too. And yeah, lo and behold, if you go into it, they've actually added a new IOFS package that defines the fs.fs interface, which literally has just one method in it, which is called open, and it opens a named file. And I've noticed that there are implementations in the template package that now implements this, I believe, and obviously this embed package. Those are the only two. And oh yeah, there's a HTTP one as well.
So those would be the consumers of that interface.
Yeah.
The zip.reader is also a producer, so to speak, or an implementer of that interface. So you can use a zip file as the source of an HTTP.file system, or as the source of a template data, for example, or embed fs, or for that matter, the os.dirfs provides a one backed by the real file system.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. I didn't click on these. Was dirfs is a file. All right. Cool. So this this new interface is sort of its changes sort of went through a few places. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like what io.reader and io.writer have done in the past for Go. This kind of brings in terms of flexibility and pluggability to file system operations.
Okay. Cool. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm just literally, I'm blatantly just gonna, because I don't remember exactly. I think there's this thing called sub, fs.sub, and there you go. It imported that, which was great. And this is the sub returns an fs or corresponding to the subtree. So it takes in a fs and which I believe will be like stuff. And then I can give it a directory, which could be just the current directory, I guess, here. And what does it return? At the bottom, it says it returns an fs and an error. So I'm just gonna say f comma error if error not equal to nil. I'm just gonna great. Everything should be fine there. Obviously, that's that. And then what else did I do here? Oh, yeah, I did this printing thing. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to make my life a lot easier. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. I apologize. Okay, and I'm just going to call print. And then I'm going to give it f comma, and I'm just going to give it dir slash and a bar dot stuff. And let's just go through some of the weird stuff that I did here. Oh, you know what? And before I do that, I'm gonna, you can see me do that. So basically, I'm just passing this embedded FS interface through this FS interface, like we saw, implements a single method called open. So I'm literally just saying, hey, open, you know, dir slash bar dot stuff. And then I'm reading everything from the file. Like this was like my default. I just went to do ioutil.readall, and then printed it out. So let me bring this back. Let me go run main.go sub. What did I? Did I mess something up? fs.sub, did I not import it?
You could pass it dot.
Oh, yeah.
That really essentially returns the same file system you already have.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a no-op. You can also pass in like dir to essentially make it so that you've got a subrooted file system.
So that's what. So if I do this now, if I say, hey, if I just do and say foo.txt, it should print out both. Yeah. Okay. That's what I was like. All right. Cool. So that's that. And then I remember, is it in here right now? Oh yeah. So then I was sort of scrolling through and I saw this, as I was reading this embedded files, and then, you know, I was like looking at this, I was like, okay, great, some stuff here. And then I saw deprecation of IOUtil, which is kind of interesting because like usually when we create these util packages, they do end up being very vague and undefined. And apparently it happened here as well. And so please be aware of all of these deprecations from IOUtil. And one of them was IOUtil readall, which is now sort of essentially moved to io.readall. And that's why I then came in here and I did the here. I changed that. I saw that it went back to the IO package, and I'm gonna go run main.go, and everything is fine here. And then I didn't do the other one, but I'm sure y'all will believe me if I just did that. Here, boop, boop. And now it prints them all. Yeah, I think that was that. And then
just a quick comment. Kristen said she has to drop off for another call, but she looks forward to hearing from anyone who may be interested in learning more. Thanks to Warren and everybody.
Awesome. All right.
And
Bye.
thing from my side is regarding IOUtil deprecation. This is the Go standard library. So if you hear deprecation, you might be like, oh, it's going to break in 2 releases or something. It's going to be here forever as long as Go 1.x is still here. They're just saying it'll look prettier if you start using the other things, because they're never going to break it.
Yeah.
Not before a true Go 2.0, for example.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, so deprecated is like such a soft term for the Go standard library.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, because I was just like, man, everybody uses IOU.
Yeah, so it does not mean stop everything you're working on and you like go and take all of your code bases and change them away from using IOUtil. I think it's more of a guidance of, for anything new you write, don't use IOUtil. For new stuff, use the other, IO or OS, depending on what kind of functionality you need.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool. The other thing I had, well, I'm surprised I didn't run into this now, but I'll just show, for some reason when I had gone here, so this was like when I just started playing with this a few hours ago, I was running into like Go mod issues. I don't know if you know anything about that, Kevin. And I was like, hey, I have a Go path, and that's when I ran into this Go module is turned on by default, and I actually had to do like Go mod init, and then create this thing, just this Go mod init with the example.com, and then everything started working, which is surprising because it didn't freak out like when I created this new directory. I was expecting it to freak out. Maybe it was just something in my system, like something I.
Which new directory you're referring to that you were expecting it to freak out?
So right now I'm in this. So I had created this play directory. So basically I just did this, and then in here I just had I did this exact same flow like I did just now.
Oh, okay. So you didn't have the go.mod yet.
Yeah, I didn't have a go.mod yet. And when I was trying to do, like over here in this file, I was like trying to do comma B and everything, and it was like freaking out. And then I realized that, from the, that's why I do Greenfield. I just saw the pop in the chat. Docker containers. yeah, because my dev environment, this is I don't know what was up with this dev environment. So I wasn't sure what was going on, and I was like, hey, I have a Go path as well. And so I thought I'd go through this in the second time, and I just created play 2, but it didn't blow up, and I was like, so now I'm thrown off as to what happened before. Because if you go to play 2, I don't think I created. Yeah, there's no Go mod file here.
Well, so you're doing a go.run.
Oh.
So that's a little different. And you're doing a go build if you try go build without any arguments.
Oh, okay. So if I just do go build,
then it will be like, now I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. I'm so glad that. Okay, yeah, that's true.
Because that's like with go run, with passing it a single file name argument, it's like, well, if this guy really wants to make a project out of exactly one Go file, sure, I'll let him. But as soon as you get into anything non-trivial, then
okay,
yeah, it requires you to add it. So this is one of those things where they probably could have made it a little cleaner, where they're like, people still have Go path set. We can just auto infer a Go mod init maybe based on where it's in the Go path. But they didn't do that. A lot of the people I work with never really liked the Go path anyway. They would just put something directly on their desktop or something like that. And the project name wouldn't actually match the import path. So those people love Go modules. They kind of always want.
In fact, that's why I was reading this, and they said from the from the 2020 Go developer survey, 96% of Go developers essentially made the switch to using Go modules, which is what I'm used to, at least obviously most of my time in 2020 was working in upstream Kubernetes projects. So they all use that stuff. Cool. So that, to be honest, like this was just me like a couple hours ago playing around with this stuff, and I was like, oh, this is very interesting. Especially I know because a lot of projects I used or have used or worked on before use that Go bin data, and I could see a lot of applications for this Go embed stuff coming in. I'm gonna stop.
So you had made a note about you know, you use Go bin data. There might be other things. There are like 7 other different things.
Yeah.
I've home rolled one of them too. They were all kind of not quite great because it was a generation step, and then you check in the code for your generated Go file typically.
Yeah.
This is a categorical improvement because the compiler supports it natively now. So you didn't have to, there was no generated file. You essentially just get it for free. And I think that's the biggest thing that a third-party tool couldn't accomplish, is just that plug and play aspect of it.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it usually was a pain in the ass, and now it's like, this is fantastic. I'm going to embed all the things.
Yeah, I remember at least on some of the upstream projects that I was working on, I'd like to make some changes to these files, and then you know, there was like these make commands which I just like make tests and stuff, and then it would go into the CI and would fail there, and then I would be like, oh yeah, I forgot to run make generate and then make verify, and you know, I have to run all these like sort of steps to ensure that the code is all checked in, like generated properly and checked in. So yeah, this is definitely much cleaner and better.
And then there were the philosophical wars about whether you should check in those files or just have your like CI/CD system generate them on the fly.
Yeah.
We can kind of put that to rest now.
Yeah. So I didn't really go through any of the other things. I know I clicked on this vet thing, and this was sort of interesting to me, that Go vet. Now, if you have the other thing, oh, sorry, I realize I'm not sharing, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Go vet now lets you know when you're not sharing, but you're supposed to be. It does everything
now. Yeah, so this is what I was referring to is there's a new warning for invalid testing.t, but specifically it seems like it's for this method fatal. So if you have a test and then you have a Go routine, and within that you call t.fatal, Go vet will sort of throw a warning for that. And then you apparently they're suggesting using like t.error and then just returning out of it to get out of the Go routine. And those were the only things that sort of I had time to sort of go through today. Does anybody else have anything to like they saw in the release notes that were sort of interesting to them? I mean, I saw also, I think here, like the new Mac OS ARM 64 support was there that they sort of, I guess, added support for. And then obviously, you know, more awesome claims of including speeding up the builds by 25% faster and 15% less memory. Yay. Yeah, that's pretty much, you know, all that I sort of came prepared for. So I'm going to stop sharing again, and I will leave the floor open. Otherwise, you know, we can always, you know, I guess, at least if you're in Colorado, go out and play in the snow a little bit.
I think pretty much everywhere you can go and play in the snow if you're in the North America right now.
Yeah, my dog's been like grunting at me in the corner in the dark there, and she's just like, "You don't play with me." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, at this meetup."
So a couple other things that might be of note is strconf, the string conversion package, the parse float functionality, which also impacts JSON and so on, is about twice as fast now.
Oh, wow.
So they got a float parsing is twice as fast, typically. So just a fun little performance note. And then Oh shoot, where was it? Oh yeah, the OS/signal package hasn't, so it pretty much only had one thing, which was notify, where you pass it a signal and you pass it a channel, and it'll send a message down that channel. There's now a notify context function. So if you've ever found yourself just essentially wiring in, like taking a channel and using the like receiving on the channel and then canceling a context, it has built-in functionality for that, so you can save the kind of roundabout way of doing it.
Oh, I see. So you have a notify channel, notify context. Oh, I see.
Sorry, I meant notify context.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. Okay. Oh, and then you have context done and stuff. Okay. Cool. I didn't know about this. Awesome. What else? What else is there? There's path, file path, new function called walkdir is similar to walk, but it's typically more efficient. Function pass to walkdir is the fs dir entry. Okay.
That's a funny story, really. It's if you look into those the fs.dir entry, it looks almost identical to os.file or now fs.fileinfo. The difference, I think the reason that they do that is you can't get an entire file info with a single syscall typically. And so what os.lister would be doing is like for every directory entry, it would be doing 2 syscalls. And people complain about performance about that when they're doing large scale file system operations. And dir entry, everything in there can be satisfied typically on most platforms by a single syscall, at least the type, the isdir, and the name parts. And so now if those are the only parts you really needed, it's much, much faster. In fact, I don't think it's a separate syscall, like the actual thing that gives you your bunch of directory entries, all of that information is already present. So it's really actually, instead of O of n syscalls, so to speak, it's like 1 syscall per page of directory entries that you can get. So it's actually an order of magnitude more efficient.
Okay. Wow. All right.
If it impacted you, you already knew that. If it didn't impact you, you probably don't care. But it's just little things that the core team is trying to do to speed things up for people.
Cool.
And it looks like they've got better inlining support for under the compiler section of the release notes.
Under the compiler section, compiler.
Yeah, they say there's a few other places where they can now inline things. So if you write functions that just call fairly other simple functions, there are cases where if you're doing that in a tight loop, for example, the compiler can produce faster code as a result.
Okay. Cool.
I got nothing else though.
Right. No, this is good. This was more than I was like, sort of like, oh man, I don't know what else I'm going to talk about other than this little embed demo. But thanks to shout out to Brendon Kay who posted that on Slack so that I had the idea to be like, okay, I'll just take what he said and go with it.
There is one more thing in here. Warren, you'd mentioned you've done a bit with Kubernetes. Right where you are, scroll down a little bit, go to the runtime section.
The runtime. Boop.
See that second to last paragraph?
On Linux, the runtime now defaults to releasing memory to the operating system promptly, rather than lazily when operating system is under memory pressure.
And so I don't know for sure, but I suspect this might be play nicer in Kubernetes land or kind of any kind of containerized land where, especially if you've got like Kubernetes quotas on memory, and so on. So it might look like a better, Go programs might look like a better citizen under those, so like when the Go runtime did a garbage collection cycle and it freed up 256 megs of RAM and is really only using 64 before in 1.15 and earlier, it might still continue to hold on to the allocation from the operating system of 256 megs. And now it looks like it'll pretty quickly just say, nope, I'm actually using 64 megs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, hi guys, this is Ed Carmack. That new feature to me is my one less headache to have to explain feature, because I rarely have to explain why some of our containers sit there and are holding on to 400 megs of memory, even though I can go in and find out it only is actually using up 40. Specifically for that, and it always comes up when people ask why we're using up so much memory in some of our containers. So I'm looking forward to testing that out and no longer having to explain that every day.
That's a really good thing to call out. I can imagine if you're in a situation where you're trying to pitch use of Go in more cases, somebody might see that and they're like, it's using 400 megabytes for this. Yep. That can't be a good steady state. I know a lot of programs have heavier initialization load where they might use a lot more memory up front and then just discard all of it. And so I imagine that could be a good win here.
Yeah, in our case, the stack I deal with is about half Go and half Node, and the Node developers love pointing out how their Node services are using up so much less memory than our Go services, and I'm like, no. One other thing I want to point out is something I don't know how many of you guys deal with Go and other languages. So I haven't dealt with other languages in a while, but this weekend I was actually working with some Rust, and I had forgotten how nice and quickly Go builds. So every time I see additional things about how the compiler going faster, I was very surprised and frustrated by how slow Rust builds even Hello World. I don't miss long compile times. I'd forgotten about them. I find them very frustrating now.
So that's a good, even a Hello World, like I know Rust has a lot of compile time like you can write compile time code essentially and evaluate it at compile time. And then like maybe you do a loop or a recursive call. And if it can evaluate that in a constant way, it'll do that in the compiler. But I'm surprised that Hello World, for example, would take quite a while. So that's interesting to know.
Yeah, it would take multiple seconds for me to compile it, which is, again, I'm used to pretty much hitting it and it's done. So it was just, it stood out.
Now we just need to wait for them to really fix the Go binary sizes, where you essentially write a Hello World program and it uses 1.5 megs. Because I wouldn't be surprised if your Node.js colleagues point out, I've got a 10 byte Hello World program and you've got a 1.5 meg Hello World binary.
Fortunately, no, just because with everything that we shove into our Node images, that I'm not too worried about it. Our Go are generally all under even our smallest node.
I'm just going to keep sharing and then stop sharing as we move along with our conversation.
Context switching.
Yeah. So new message. Not really. Yeah, this has been really informative. Oh, Christy had to leave. Okay, that's right. Cool. I have nothing else. Anybody else have any other topics?
The generics proposal has been officially accepted.
What? I thought, I mean,
it's still proposed, like it's been officially accepted. It hasn't been implemented. But so don't go looking through your release notes for generic.
Yeah,
how could I have missed that? You know, it's been officially accepted. So they're essentially they're going to start working on implementing it. It'll probably be like 1.18 or 1.19 or something before they actually, maybe 1.20 before it's actually robust enough to release to the wild. But it's not a hypothetical anymore.
Did you notice, did you see the tweets about when they updated the note about generics that not needed to now that they're looking at, going to be adding it into the documentation of Go? There was actually
I did not see that tweet. You mean documentation in the sense of documenting that it's coming, or?
Yeah, there was, I don't remember what it was, because in the Go docs, in the Go repo, there was a doc about generic not needed, and they updated that to no longer say not needed. But
yeah, there's an FAQ at the very least. Why doesn't Go have generics? And it's like, well, you can do a lot of things without generics, which you really can. I mean, like the sort package is a great example of generic programming without true generics. It's just not nearly as flexible or convenient as people expect or want. So that's interesting to know. I'll see if I can find that FAQ thing.
Yeah, for those on the call who weren't here, I don't think it was December, but we had I think I'll post a link. There was I'm trying to remember. We had a talk about the Go generics. Bill Kennedy came by and was actually the one presenting on it. So that's a good YouTube video to watch. He kind of goes through the entire proposal, or most of the proposal, at least from what I remember. Yeah, let me find the link. I'll paste that in the chat. Oh, there we go. Bill Kennedy, generics proposal review.
So they're saying 1.18 if all goes well for generics. So that's actually about a year away.
Wow.
If anybody's played with it, the generics prototype, which is called Go to Go, it's essentially translates Go generics into non-generic Go 1.0 code. Not something you'd use in production, not very usable in that sense, but I mean, it implements a lot already. So now that it's official, on the official track of things to work on, seems like they could get it going within the next year. Oh, that is actually strange. And that link that that Edward mentioned, the FAQ document, at the very bottom of that, like the section on why doesn't Go have generic types, they are mentioning that it's been accepted for inclusion, the proposal, etc. But the very last paragraph says, the topic remains open for a look at several previous unsuccessful attempts to design a good generic solution for Go. Please see this proposal. I'll see what that is, but it sounds like they didn't quite update the entire documentation. So they're kind of saying we've accepted a proposal, but it almost sounds like we might backpedal on the proposal, which I doubt is the case.
Now, I took it more in the lines of they accepted a proposal, but they're leaving themselves out just in case this proposal doesn't work out.
wouldn't an accepted proposal, like we haven't had an accepted proposal that I'm aware of any kind where they haven't gone through with it, though this would be by far probably the biggest proposal ever to be accepted. So it would be quite strange if they actually didn't do it.
Yeah. I'm hopefully optimistic about it. I'm just very worried about what I'm going to deal with after it comes out with colleagues who want to start using it everywhere.
I don't know if you, maybe you've got really industrious, annoying language abusers, but one of the things that struck me with the proposal was now accepted proposal is that the syntax takes some getting used to. And if you're writing library, really generics are meant for library authors, not really for application authors. Because if you're writing an application, you know it's going to be an int, or you know it's going to be this certain kind of struct. But if you're just using generics as an occasional toolbox thing, the resistance to it just syntactically, at least for me, might be enough to not use it all the time too much. So it's certainly a lot better syntactically with, I think, the square brackets. Before it used to just have extra parentheses, which were kind of hard to figure out. So I have a similar concern. I'm just hoping, I'm hoping we're both wrong in the sense of I'm hoping people won't jump all over it too much.
Let's hope. I came from, before I came to Go, I came from C# and C++. And both of those worlds, pretty much most of the people I worked with believed everything should be generic unless there was a reason not to be generic. So it was generic first. So I don't miss those days. It made some really complex, ugly code that only ever got used for one type in one place. So it just, yeah.
Just out of interest, since I don't come from that community, do people try and use like a link for every, which is C#'s kind of like SQL in C# kind of flavor of thing? Do they use that all over the place unnecessarily too?
That we were divided. My team was very divided on that one. We had some that loved it and we had some that did not love it. And even then we had people who would create the super highly efficient, links that you could never understand. Whereas other people we use links where it wasn't the most efficient, but you could also read it. So we had camps. So we had camps and then sub camps in those camps, or just over link.
Yeah, in my mind, then that I read that as there's hope for Go, because I could see the overuse of generics as being if there's a language feature, use it all the time just because. There's a little bit of that with channels in Go, for example, but it's tapered off. And if there are people divided on using like LINQ, which is kind of one of the flagship, like other languages tend not to have anything quite like this, then kind of Go hasn't had generics from the beginning, and it's it's been 10 years in and we haven't had generics yet. So maybe there's enough kind of herd immunity to the generics bug to inoculate us from too much abuse.
Yeah, I remember when I started out with Go, like everybody was using channels for everything. Channels was all over the place. And now I don't even remember the last time I don't think I've ever I think only
really?
Once in 2020 have I actually seen channels used in some of the Kubernetes projects that I've been.
Yeah. At least how can you call yourself a Go developer if you're not using channels at least 20 times a day?
I'm writing a bunch of, I'm with Warren. I'm writing a bunch of like AWS Lambda stuff right now, and it's just like I think the landscape is changing. I think it'd be similar for like Google Cloud Functions, but the landscape is changing where like the infrastructure, it's just things that were bad practice before are good practice now, and vice versa. It goes through cycles. And most of the time, ironically, server code, I'm writing not a lot of channels. It's like the command line utilities where it's like fetch these 50 things and collate them into JSON. That's where I'm actually using channels. So it's like the industrial strength, services. Not a lot of channels, some mutexes, but really not a lot of channels. And then command line tools that really don't matter are the concurrency playground for me. And plus, if you really wanted to call yourself a Go programmer, it wouldn't be using channels. It'd be like, why are you returning a channel from a function? You should be returning a channel of channels so you can get your channel from the channels.
See, I prefer returning a function that returns a channel of channels.
But you got to make it generic, so it's got to be return an interface. And if you're really doing it right, and I'm saying this seriously, you probably shouldn't be returning channels. You should be taking a channel so the caller can decide how much capacity it needs. Just saying.
Funny if I had an argument specifically about that 2 years ago. So.
Well, 1.16, I think it's my favorite release in probably like, I don't know, 12 releases or so. Because Embed is really awesome. It's just out of the box, fantastic. And IO/FS, I think, is really well done. It's like kind of one of those about time. Like when I was learning Go, I came from Python, and I thought it was the simplest language in the world, Python. And then I found Go, and it's like technically Go's a lot simpler. Like the language spec is like, 1/3 the size or less. Just a lot of things about it are simpler, and there's more elegance there because just like network sockets, files, files, internal memory buffers, they're all just readers and writers. And there was like this profound just intuition about how you can design things simply. And I'm almost surprised that like they didn't take that intuition and say, we can do the same for files or file-like things. So I'm really glad that they've done this now.
I would agree with you on that. I'm looking forward to it. So like everything that we do are microservices. So one of the things about our services is every service that we produce has an API, a REST endpoint to supply its own API. Right now we copy those files, and I'm looking it's simple, but I'm looking forward to actually switching that to an embed. So instead of having to even copy in anything more than the binary, I copy the binary in and that's it. Everything's in that one container. And the other thing I'm looking forward to is I already have something planned. So we also have a lot of web, front end services that they're using Nginx to serve up static web pages. I'm actually very much looking forward to trying to replace all those Nginx containers with a Go file server. Because we're not doing anything with that Nginx because we're behind another Nginx. It's just being used to serve the files.
That makes sense. Usually, I mean, Go is one of those systems that, or languages that the HTTP stack, they're not trying to be like Nginx or Apache, where it's like, Apache will be like, we'll take your flaky HTTP 0.9 clients and we'll support all of the idiosyncrasies of that. And Go's like, no, we're just going to go with the modern spec. And if you need something unclean that you need to support, just throw Nginx in front of it. Yep. But since you mentioned you essentially have a doubly nested Nginx stack, it totally makes sense to me that you'd have get rid of one of those nestings at the very least.
That's the hope. I haven't looked into it yet. I got to get time for it, but definitely looking forward to attempting it.
Yeah, if you play with Embed, I think as Warren demonstrated, it just works out of the box. It's quite nice.
So I will add one thing. It's nice finally that it looks like it's dark out there. I am based out of DC. So when I jumped on the call and I'm sitting there and in this background, I see that nice bright sunlight. I'm like, it's just throwing my brain off. So it's now that it's finally dark there, it's my brain is having an easier time.
That could be one of those Colorado. There's like a Colorado saying, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It could just be that it's like it was dark, but wait 5 minutes, it might be, sunny again.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. It's like cloudy, then it like became clear, and now it's like sort of cloudy again. Like this morning, like I remember like this morning was, or yesterday it was like in the morning it was like nice. It was beautiful, bright and sunny, warm. And then suddenly winter storm warning just comes right in. Everything becomes dark. It's like, what's going on? All right. I'm gonna go make some dinner. So I'm gonna, unless y'all have any other topics of discussion, I'm gonna try to stop the recording and yeah, y'all can, I think, continue. I'll just stop the recording right now. And then if y'all want, you can keep on discussing, but I have to actually step out and make some dinner.
I think I'm also gonna make some dinner too. So thank you as always for hosting and
oh yeah, no problem.
And presenting.
Yeah.
You had a fantastic way of like, every time I was about to bring something up as like, oh, you need to use you can't use wildcards with embed with just a var string. And you're like, and then I found out you need to use.
Yeah.
So I really like your presentation style. That was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I was like sort of going through this and I was just like, okay, let me just present it in the same way as I was like sort of discovering things. And, that way, probably for any of the new folks who, new to go, they sort of like, oh, okay, it's normal.
No, that is
good discovery process.
You've not only shown me that you've brought to my attention that exists as an art form now, and I want to learn how to do that. So that was pretty awesome.
Awesome, cool. Well, thank you, Kevin, again for and Terry and Edward and all of the others who were here. Thanks for showing up. If y'all have any other topics to want to talk about, just hit us up on Slack and we can schedule you to present for the next meetup, because we're always looking for speakers or just topics of discussion. Would be great. That'd be wonderful. Awesome. Have a great day, everybody. I'm gonna hit stop recording.